small shuttlecraft from Solar System 820 started to slow when the two planets, Zant Major and Zant Minor, came into view. Space Officer 1, John Timmons, the pilot, activated the front thrusters while bringing the engines down to 0%, then began to input the planet's re-entry and navigation coordinates into the visual boxes on the screen. The small craft vibrated and shuddered as the speed dramatically changed, putting them into a circular orbit. "Danger! Atmosphere present!" The audible warning came from Auger, the computer. In response, John Timmons grasped the two orbs on either side of the seat and guided the craft into the atmosphere. Within minutes, they were on their way down towards the clouds below. Auger could have controlled the whole flight from start to finish, but Timmons was following procedure, demanded as part of the never-ending space pilot training. Every 10 flights, he had to fly manually. As he steered the craft, he called a status report back to the rear. Duly notified that it was safe to do so, Space Agent Jim Long stood up and turned to his companions, stretching his back muscles as he did. His two assistants, both Space Officer medium rank, were experiencing their first trip to the planet. Gail Farmer, a computer and systems expert, was immaculate in a similar one-piece light blue uniform that loosely fitted her tall, elegant body. Her beautiful face, as usual, was unemotional and expressionless, casting a cold, even defensive image. Yet after 3 years of working with her, Jim knew that her demeanour indicated only her unique brand of professionalism. Her teamwork was exceptional. Norman Clark, equally as professional as Gail, had moments of being a cut-up, but was no less dedicated to the job. Gail cast a sideways glance at Jim as he lowered himself back into his chair and gazed through the opening at the city of Zant-1 below. "Well, we're nearly there, Frosty," he said to Gail, using his nickname for her. "I'll admit, this city has a strange fascination for me." "The whole city looks like a huge diamond," she said, staring out in the window next to her seat. "I mean, all the walkways crisscross each other in that way, straight, diagonal lines and all." Jim nodded and gave her a sideways glance. Even the lakes, housing and municipal buildings are all built within the same profile. As he spoke, he again admired her. Today, as always, her long hair was pinned up carefully in a precise and tidy way, and even in casual dress she looked immaculate. Turning the other way, he glanced at Norman, who had his face flattened against the viewport. The contrast between Norman and Gail made Jim grin again. Even in dress clothes, Norman still looked slightly shabby. Like the engineer he was, dress protocol was of little interest to him. Yet Jim felt a great pride just knowing him. The same with Gail. The trio's working relationship was of unending harmony and respect, if that Gail was a bit easier on the eyes. "Look at all that landscaping," Gail said, her eyes taking in the view below. "All those lush shades of green, looking wonderful in contrast to the white buildings. And the lakes, they're so blue in the sunlight." "Looks just like any other city to me," Norman said. "I don't understand what you're drooling about." She turned to face him. "It's like... all right, you're an engineer. Think of an engine, its parts all laid out neatly in front of you, just waiting to be fitted." "Oh, now you're talking," Norman said, smiling. "That is a beautiful sight." Jim burst out laughing as Gail's face remained impassive. "Not to me," she said, straight-faced. "Beauty is in the eye of the beholder." Norman turned to Jim. Have I said something wrong, Skipper?" "Possibly," Jim replied quickly, then gazed out of the portal window, searching for a way to change the subject. "Look, we're on level flight at 5,000 feet, heading towards the centre. Look at the small craft down there. Some look as low as 200 feet, and every one of them moving in a precise symmetry to each other." His diversion worked. Both Gail and Norman stared out their viewports, rapt at the huge diamond-shaped building below. Small craft were entering and leaving the structure's perimeter in a never-ending stream. The shuttlecraft stopped and shuddered, as though taken by an invisible hand, and plunged into a rapid descent. "Whoa, that's fast," Norman said, and grabbed hold of his armrests. Gail showed nothing on her face, but Jim saw her body stiffen as she looked at him. "We're on the magic beam," he said, and winked at her. She looked at him for a moment, her face still deadpan, shook her head, and looked outside again, as the craft moved down quickly and trimmed to a horizontal position. Jim didn't take offence at her lack of response. It was a part of her personality he long ago came to accept. At 1,000 feet, the craft slowly, markedly, causing their body weight to push them into the seats. The craft then descended into one of the building's huge circular hatches, hovering 50 feet above its floor. Jim gave Gil and Norman a nod to reassure them. He had been through the experience before on his many visits, yet knew the straight-down plunge from that height was unnerving for the uninitiated. The craft then spun on its axis and reversed as a huge cavern door opened to allow them to enter slowly.